Hello, welcome to another episode of Decentral Lounge, brought to you by GlobalStake, your institutional SOC 2 Type 2 certified, truly decentralized, self-owned, and managed bare metal staking service provider. Welcome to today's episode, where we will discuss Astrovault, the first hybrid automated market maker that simultaneously serves as a DAO for all token holders. Through a number of novel mechanisms, Astrovault actually earns revenue, which is then dispersed as POL, or protocol-owned liquidity, and also provides rewards for those who stake their governance tokens. Joining us today, we have both of the co-founders, Eric Waisanen and Ethan Wood, both of whom bring unique backgrounds to both Astrovault and its parent company, HiVault Corporation. Eric has served as a tokenomic lead for Phi Labs and also runs a separate business, Dopenomics, a tokenomics advisory firm where he leverages his educational background in economic philosophy. Ethan Wood serves as the COO of HiVault and has experience in both operations management and business development. Together, along with the rest of the Astrovault team, they have created the most novel DEX to date. Eric, Ethan, welcome to Decentral Lounge. Why don't we start off a little bit by just discussing your respective backgrounds and what led you to the transition to the Web3 industry on your journey toward building Astrovault?
I guess I can go first. So my background, my name is Ethan Wood. My background is primarily in the traditional tech sector. I started off working for companies like Hewlett-Packard, Verizon, AT&T, and kind of stayed in the traditional tech sector for a good while, just kind of monitoring crypto and Web3 and what was all being developed with Bitcoin and all that. And I honestly really figured back in 2013, 2014 that the government was going to come in and regulate everything to basically nothing and that it was all going to crash. And then when it didn't, I had to kind of reevaluate everything. And so I started to get involved. I started doing some day trading. I had already been involved in stocks and things like that. So I really felt the need to get in, kind of get my hands wet and make some money. And I had a good time as a day trader, did that for a while, but ran into the same barriers and walls over and over again with these protocols that were just not built sustainably. Obviously, if you're out in DeFi, you're going to need a decentralized exchange of some kind, or a medium of exchange. And the centralized exchanges aren't safe. We've seen that with FTX and a lot of these other platforms and protocols. And so decentralization seemed to be the way forward there. But again, it just seemed to kind of be the same cycle, the same negative cycle. So I started getting involved with other DeFi protocols that were promising. Started contributing. Joined a few communities and things out in the decentralized landscape. Started contributing and that's where I met Eric, and we started talking about these same headaches that we kept running into and started ideating, like, how would we fix these? How would we deal with these problems personally? And we really started to draw up a serious plan, and we had several friends at that point that were developers and started growing and building from there.
Yeah, and you touched on my background in economic philosophy. I took that, and what do you do with a philosophy degree, right? So I worked in the casino space for a long time. I started out just dealing cards, but also fixed a bunch of math issues with games that they didn't recognize, and kind of got picked up to do game auditing and then game design creation. Meantime, always had side hustles, ran sports books, was one of the first to do liquid futures trading, like in sports betting specifically. Got banned everywhere from card counting, needed a new side hustle, and had coworkers that were getting into crypto. So I started researching it, and I'm like, oh, more freedom, more tools with which to play cool games. Got involved and started taking advantage of the terrible design, but also really believed in the ethos of the freedom. I'm a registered libertarian, love the idea of being able to control your own destiny, control your own wallets, and provide access to the everyman. And so I wanted to fix the things I was actively taking advantage of, because just, especially then, but still in a large part today, things just don't have a level of maturity that can attract traditional finance money and get to the point where products can be taken seriously.
Yeah, and you guys have a whole roadmap that I'm sure we'll get into because of so many different real world applications that you're targeting with just everything that you guys are building. But let's just get to the start of Astrovault. Like, I mean, it is so unique. It's so different. I mean, full disclosure, I am a user. I'm a fan. I'm a token holder. And so really excited to have you on the show today and really discuss, because I think people don't realize that you guys have solved sort of a fundamental problem with DEXs overall.
Yeah, thank you. And we don't love that these DEXs have these huge problems. However, we have more ideas for decentralized businesses and how to get them in a way that they are decentralized in a way that they are safe from regulatory scrutiny and provide the levels of freedom that we aim to. And one of the issues is creating these decentralized businesses requires this decentralized access to capital. And this was the entire vision behind Uniswap. I mean, back in Nakamoto's white paper, Satoshi mentions that like if these P2P cash systems are dependent on third-party institutions that can revoke access, then you don't have a P2P system. And with Coinbase being such a primary barrier, Uniswap was like, oh, well, now we have smart contracts. We can actually bypass Uniswap, or we can bypass Coinbase. And in order, like, they made it possible, but in order to work, they had to get liquidity. So like, okay, we're going to take all the revenue that's going to Coinbase and we're just going to give it to the liquidity providers. They did. It worked. They patted themselves on the back. And then they're like, well, shit, now we don't have any revenue. So we just did all this work. We made this new cool science fair project. In order to make it work, we had to give away all of the revenue. How the hell do we make money? I know. Let's launch a token. And so fundamentally, their token launch was based on the precipice that they can't monetize. And so they launched a valueless token because they can't monetize, and they, theoretically start creating like, oh, maybe governance power, but how much is it worth? And everything has been completely speculative. But they have something that, is currently valued at over $6 billion as a product that has no revenue. And now they finally created a level of monetization that's only for the team, still not for the token holders. And that's not sustainable. Things that were lindy enough, that were new enough, that got good enough adoption still have high valuations in this short market. But in a long enough time horizon, like that's not something that's recreatable. That's not something that's sustainable at all. And if you have these fundamental building blocks of decentralized business that are going to fall apart and break, then you can't sustainably create decentralized businesses. And so we wanted to build something that solved the problem that Uniswap solved in theory in a way that was sustainable. And that would be a DEX that's built on fundamentally being revenue generating, covering expenses, and being able to scale in a way that the token isn't worthless, so that the team can keep on building and the users don't get rugged. The decentralized businesses don't get rugged. They can operate a normal business.
Yeah, it's really about creating utility, right? So like a normal DEX token, what good is it, right? You can sell it. Well, okay. I like that's just straight downward pressure. You're not really doing anything or contributing anything. It's just a reward. But you can only sell something so often before the price is just null and void. And then they just run the same Ponzi over and over again, basically. Like, oh, let's just go launch a new DEX somewhere. Here, Binance Smart Chain's nice. Like, it's like, really, come on, guys. We have to grow up the models. You have to build a real economy if you want to attract real world businesses. And that's been the problem up until this point, is the space just hasn't matured because the economics haven't matured. You've had these brilliant developers building economies, and they have no idea what they're doing. They're not experts in economy. They're experts in code. Which, awesome. There are some really sophisticated products out there, but economically, a lot of them are extremely lacking. And that's where we really wanted to fill in the gap.
Beyond the actual DEX itself, one of the things I think is really unique is how you guys have been able to deploy on multiple chains, right? Like a lot of times we think of any given DEX as being, like we brought up Uniswap, for instance, that it is just an ETH or EVM based thing now because it exists, forks on other EVMs or L2s. But like you guys actually have these sort of outposts on different chains that now feed in, and you can do all sorts of atomic swaps and everything else with virtually no slippage. So can you expand on that a little bit and talk about, the design for why you were trying to do this and how this leads into the business model itself?
Yeah. So we approach everything from a first principles solution. We believe in decentralized business, as I got into a bit. But part of the Ponzinomics, part of the .com bubble that we're in the middle of, is this assumption that blockchains are valuable. And while they are new technology, while they do create new types of speculation, fundamentally from a business perspective, running a blockchain is very, very expensive and creates absolutely zero revenue. And you can do things like gas monetization. I think Ethereum has done a great job with that, although everyone's angry about it. Like there are ways to monetize it, but in general, every blockchain ever is running at a fat negative and doesn't it's expensive to operate. And our DEX doesn't need a blockchain. In fact, we know that all of these other blockchains that operate at a perpetual negative that got a whole bunch of funding, they're only as good as the gas that they're able to sell. They're only as good as the adoption from applications that they're able to get. And so it actually makes more sense to us to be this service provider to them, where they can hire us to build them a good and capable DEX to bring fundamental value to their blockchain that is traditionally a net negative, while not having the overhead of having to operate our own. Short term, it might not have been the best idea, just because tons of investors were duped into investing into the everyone needs a blockchain narrative. So we probably would have got more funding, but we're very principle first, and we're not short sighted. So we can be built everywhere. We will be built everywhere. Most good apps are in the Apple Store and the iOS Store. Like, why should we limit where we can deploy arbitrarily just so we could raise our expenses?
And it's not really in a chain's best interest to move all of their TVL off chain, right? I mean, that's a huge metric on CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap. That's one of the things that people look at, is how much TVL, how much activity is going on your chain. How many users are interacting with this? Is this thing actually valuable? And if you're moving all your TVL off chain to some other place, then those metrics are completely lost. There's nothing to signify that you guys are actually doing anything. Everybody wants to retain their liquidity, their own TVL, all of that on their own chain, and they want to build their chain and monetize that block space. We're a prime vehicle for that.
One of the things that you guys have clearly already gotten as part of this emerging roadmap, for just the novel products that you're building through Astrovault and letting this be sort of this central channel or funnel, is Outbid. And this is really a unique sort of project that's, it's integrated into Astrovault, but it's almost like its own thing as well. And I've used it. It's fantastic. There's the whole gamification aspect of it that I feel was so well thought out, and just like the fever pitch that happens at the end of these auctions. So maybe dig into that a little bit, and let's talk about like why you built Outbid, what its main purpose is, and how you're going to deploy it not only on Astrovault but perhaps even other places.
Well, Outbid is what happens when Eric and I get together in person. It's because neither of us can relax. That's pretty much the problem. We sat down, and I was down in Alabama, and we sat down and we were just talking about launch pads. We were really frustrated at the time with several of them that were around, and things just weren't fun and weren't engaging. And we were seeing a lot of users get burned, high fees, different things for projects trying to list. There were all these like nightmare headaches. We're like, why don't we just create a decentralized launchpad? And we just started riffing back and forth for like a week straight. My whole vacation actually spent ideating Outbid. Essentially, yeah, it's a gamified launchpad that allows users to come in with their decentralized assets and to participate in the launch without having to deal with any of the crazy complicated, KYC type stuff where you come in and send your ID and your fingerprint, your blood type and all that. But no, you just come in and use the platform, and basically it kind of creates a game out of launches where there's rewards for coming in early, there's rewards for closing out the round, and it kind of pits all these different users against each other with the incentives. So there's a bunch of different strategies that a user can take to participate. They can try and get the most tokens by being the first person in every round, or they can try and be the person to close out every round, or they can try and wait to snipe rounds that aren't closing because it does go into overtime, and there is kind of a gamified mechanic there as well. But there's a bunch of different mechanics that allow users to come in and try and make more money off of these various strategies, and so it pits everyone against each other and makes the whole thing fun and interactive.
Yeah, and part of the problems that got us spinning off and riffing and trying to build something better was that, like, we dealt with these launch pads and we needed to launch our own token, we needed to raise our own funds, and launch pads are extractive, they're boring, and they're very low margin. And so every launchpad's trying to get by itself, but the only way they can monetize is by extracting fees from the teams that launch. And they're trying to make as much money as they can. So they're trying to extract as much from the launching teams as possible. I mean, if you use these centralized exchange marketplaces, like, the teams that use them don't even make the money that they get in the raise. Like, so much is guaranteed to the users, so much is extracted through fees. And really, they just use it as a marketing ploy and maybe get a discounted centralized exchange listing. But what users see is so different from the back end business that it's just incredibly frustrating. And we're like, look, we already have a profitable DEX. We don't need a value extractive launchpad. We just need to stop getting the value extracted from us. Like, we're happy to operate this for free. We're like, hell, just give us tokens because we'll make money on the tokens. We need more listings. We need more liquidity. We need more volume. Let us just take tokens from it so you guys can keep all the cash that you raise. Let us make it fun for the users so that it's sticky and that they come back and we get repeat customers. And by making it fun, by this extra gamification, actually drive sales, because these regular launchpads, they facilitate sales. You can trade, and then the demand runs out, and it's just done. And what a wasted opportunity! Like, oh, demand ran out, we're done. Like, where's the upsell? Where's the fun? Where's the, hey, like, now it's 20% off, do this. And so by creating this gamification, by creating these jackpots and these new demand, I mean, in our raise, we raised 310,000 from our community. 108,000 of that was spun about through the gamification at the end. So we raised over an extra 100K because of the games, because of the fun and the jackpots, and launched at a higher valuation because of it. And anyone who doesn't have this kind of gamification, anyone that's not driving sales, is leaving, as we're showing, 50% or in our case 33% of the raise on the door because they weren't creative. So yeah, we think we solved a lot of problems with it. We think that even non-crypto, the GoFundMes of this world could be more fun, could be more engaging, and could be a lot, like, if built as a decentralized business like Outbid is, be safe from this regulatory control. Like, I don't know how much you know about GoFundMe, but so many raises will get fully finished, and then they'll just be like, no, actually, we refunded everybody. You can't raise this money. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. I like to keep going down this rabbit hole. Sitting on the institutional side, I have a lot of conversations with people exploring entering the space for the first time. And so, speaking about products having a certain level of maturity, when I look at institutional adoption, the UX, UI, that's been tough to navigate for newer players. Wallets, tokens, DEXs, gas fees, these are all new terms. And so what were the considerations you had about UX, UI, when building Astrovault, Outbid, and the whole gamification aspect of everything?
So yeah, we still have a long way to go. Account abstraction is going to be huge. We need to get rid of all of these barriers for entry for the everyday people. We need Web3 to be as easy to use as Web2, and it's fundamentally not right now. But some of the design choices that we've made based on the tools that we had available at the time of designing, where we use permits, which is different. All of your transactions are locked and stored in logs directly in your wallet, secured by your wallet. You can download your transaction history. Our goal is to make it so that you can download all of your tax reports directly on our site in ways where, yes, blockchains are public, but nobody else has, like, it would take a whole bunch of sleuthing work to be able to derive that for somebody else's account. Meanwhile, we have it saved to your wallet, viewed only by your wallet at the time, and then a customizable dashboard where you can drag and drop what you want, where you want it, and really just create your own trading experience. Yeah, just give the users the ability to make whatever they want. But down the road, we need to get easier. We need to get better adoptability. We need to abstract the gas away. We were the first to build ledger compatible fee grants in Cosmos, which means that one of the design issues with not having our own chain means that you need the gas token of the chains that we're built on to use us. And we don't want to be like, hey, you have to go use a competitor for the opportunity to use us. Like, that doesn't make sense. And so we built out an abstraction tool so that you could buy the gas tokens for the first time on our DEX with subsidized gas, which was not trivial. And that was helped. But yeah, we still have a long way to go. As not just us, just all of crypto.
Yeah, in general, absolutely. Especially as far as onboarding new users and things like that. We have partnered with Cato to make on-ramping a little bit easier for certain users. We're doing a lot of things UX UI, like where the UX UI is right now and where it will be a year from now are worlds apart. We're constantly looking at ways we can improve that. I know that right now we have a decent UX UI, but it's not anywhere near where we want it to be. We want it to be so easy that your grandma can come in and use it, right? That's the ultimate goal, is to just make it so that it's just like a Web2 product, because that's kind of the barrier right now, like you guys said, is that there's this divide between people who are already crypto native and familiar, and then normal tech people, or people that maybe even are just looking for new investments that have no experience with tech. So you really need to bridge that gap, and that's something we're constantly working towards.
And I think you guys have done a pretty good job up to this point, like even for crypto. Because I mean, just to give, for those who are watching who have never used Astrovault, like the ability to just make a swap, like between chains, like literally you don't go anywhere. You might be moving something from, Archway to, Neutron, and you just like setting which way you want it to go. And the swap is, Benji, who, shout out Benji as the main dev behind a lot of this magic. It just all happens right there in that single unified interface, which is really, really nice. And yes, I mean, to your point, every crypto product could use more abstraction and kind of make it more seamless and more like Web 2. But, you guys should also get a lot of kudos for what you've already accomplished so far on Astrovault. So, I mean, clearly because you are very, forward thinking and future facing, what's coming next? Like, what are you guys working on? What are some of the future trends that you're looking at? I know that there's other things that you guys are kind of iterating on and looking at for incorporating into Astrovault. So maybe let's dig into that a little bit and talk about some of the things that you guys are building out for future features that are going to be coming in the next, say, 6 months or a year.
Yeah, so two I really want to highlight are multi-chain governance and also the payment processor. I'll talk about the payment processor, and then Ethan will give you our multi-chain governance upgrade. But with the payment processor, like, we believe in decentralized business, not just in name. Like, it's not just a buzzword for us. Like, we go out, I run a consulting company. Like, we help these other decentralized businesses to grow and to scale and to create sales funnels and to grow, like, to lower their cost of acquisition of customers, to maximize their return, like real business stuff for things that are available on chain, that are safe from regulatory like invasion, things like Jackal that provide new types of data storage where you can actually own your own data and keep it private, train AI agents through private data lakes, so like where not everything's owned by Amazon. Like, lots of these new tools of freedom, as I call them, are being developed, and we need to help them. But part of their barriers of entry, like, our model is we earn their tokens through the services that we offer for them, which means we're automatically invested in them. So we're not just like a DEX that facilitates volume and doesn't give a crap about anybody, but we're literally invested in who we consider our clients and the people who list on our DEX. And so we need to help their token go up. We need to help them succeed. And a major barrier of entry for decentralized businesses right now is processing on-chain payments in ways that are easy for grandmas to buy. Like, if I want to buy storage from Google, it's really easy, and I pay with my debit card. If I want to buy storage from Jackal, I have to figure out how to use Jackal and how to download a wallet and how to get a gas token and how to buy their token and then how to pay for it. It is so many hurdles when realistically you should be able to pay with a debit card. And so our new payment processing solution, while everybody else is focused on, hey, pay with your dog currency at the gas station. Like, I don't care about that. What I want is you to be able to buy decentralized goods and services with your credit and debit card. And so we built that solution. It's a lot of complicated backend things, but basically we're able to set it up so that we cover all of the crypto transactions, so that the payments can be made on chain, so that the services can be relayed to the customer, but the customer themselves are never actually touching the crypto assets. And so it takes a different KYC requirement, because you're not touching an investment vehicle. You're buying storage. You're buying a subscription to an email alternative, something that's actually provably private. Like, you're paying for your subscriptions and your services the same way you would for a Web 2 service. And that's not an investment vehicle. So now you don't have to upload a picture of your driver's license and tell people what diseases you're most susceptible to and give your social security number and all these other like ridiculous requirements and hurdles and hoops. And you don't have to download a wallet. You can just buy these like Jackal storage and these other decentralized services. And so we're really bullish on this service helping scale the decentralized businesses that we're invested in, the tools of freedom that we think can make the world better. But also it's going to route a lot of volume and liquidity through Astrovault and give us significant stablecoin float, which can help our liquidity profiles. And then Ethan, I'll let you talk about decentralized business.
Yeah. So one of the things that's really interesting about Astrovault is that we're actually plugged into a bunch of different blockchains. It's not just money sitting inside Astrovault that isn't doing anything. The money that's in Astrovault is actually earning directly from the inflation of a bunch of other L1 chains. So we're kind of, think about it like a spider web. We're kind of connected to all these parallel chains. And we're actually earning their inflation from validating services and things like that. And a portion of our liquidity is earning and staked to our nodes directly. So we're earning that revenue all the time. Eat, sleep, no matter what you're doing right now, Astrovault's making money. As a result of that, we have a huge portion of governance power on each of these chains for the liquidity that is in our exchange. So when you have the AXV token, you can actually participate in governance. Once we roll this out, you'll be able to participate in governance on Atom, on Archway, on all these various chains. You'll be able to use your AXV token to basically have a governance share of all of these different platforms, rather than just, going out and having to buy Atom in order to vote on Atom proposals or Archway. It's kind of a prime vehicle to aggregate all of it.
So yeah, right now you can stake AXV to earn Atom. And once we do this upgrade, you can stake AXV to earn Atom and vote on Atom governance proposals with the value of the liquidity on the DEX. You can stake AXV to earn the Osmo token and vote on the Osmo props. So we're not just voting like on Uniswap. Maybe you can use the Uni token to vote on the parameters of that DEX. Sure, you can vote on the parameters of our DEX. You can also vote on how we spend other people's tokens, and we can vote on the proposals of the other chains, so like of the other chains directly. So we can relay the governance power that we attract to our governance hub token, which is the AXV token.
And outside of just the governance power, I mean, I don't know of any other DEX token really that allows you to stake it to earn an L1 asset. And we have a whole host of farms where you can take the AXV token and you can earn Atom, you can earn Archway, you can all these various assets. I mean, that alone is a great utility. The fact that it's a prime vehicle for treasury diversification, you can just widen your portfolio without having to worry about impermanent loss or risking your tokens. You still have the same amount of tokens. You're just staking them temporarily. And there isn't a lockup on that either. So you don't have to waste, 21 days hoping that the price doesn't go down. If you need to handle your finances, you can actually just come in and earn, and you can earn from a wide array of assets. So it's kind of a game changer as far as the ability to diversify and to participate in DeFi without some of those unnecessary risks.
No, like you said, these are all game-changing developments, and I'm sure Ryan and I could chat about this for hours and days on end. But for sake of time, what are some ways that people can get in touch with you, continue following along with that journey, and also continue the conversation for those who want to?
Yeah, you can jump in our Telegram. We have Telegram. You can go to astrovault.io/Telegram or astrovault.io/Discord. Pretty much if it's a social channel, just type in our website name and then / and then the medium you want. It'll take you directly to our channels. We also have, X. We're on there, AXV Dex, I believe, at AXV_Dex.
Yeah, or astrovault.io/Twitter.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's even easier. So.
Well, awesome. We'll make sure we link all those when the episode appears. And again, Eric, Ethan, thank you guys so much for taking the time to have this conversation with us today. Really excited about Astrovault and all that you guys have been building and will continue to build. So thanks so much for everybody who's listening or watching today. Tune in next time for the next episode of Decentral Lounge. Take care, everybody.